Hi, this is Kristen at Learn English with BeGlobal, and today we are going to talk about remembering vocabulary in the English language. I know that sometimes it can be hard and very overwhelming when you think of all the vocabulary that you have to learn when you are learning a language. So I'd like to be able to help you out today with some tools on how to remember some of that vocabulary. Now, I've started with 3 basic principles that I think are key to remembering English vocabulary. We have reading, writing, and speaking. I think all 3 of these are very important when it comes to any sort of vocabulary that you are trying to learn and remember. I think it's important to remember to read your vocabulary every day, as often as you can. I think it's important to write it down, and write it down with a pencil or a pen on paper, not on your computer. I think typing is very different than writing it by hand. And I also think it's very important to speak it out loud. The more that you speak it out loud, the more that your brain registers it as vocabulary coming through your body and out into the air. It's very different. So, let's start with reading. When you're looking for vocabulary to read, I recommend that you find some children's books. Any children's books will do. The nice thing about a children's book is that it is written in very simple language. So when you find a children's book, they usually tell very simple stories, and the vocabulary will give you the basic vocabulary that you need to learn for the language, and it will also tell you a story that will help you remember and give you a place to put that vocabulary in sentences that you will be able to then use for your everyday life. So I recommend that you read children's books. Another good thing to read when you are learning vocabulary are magazines and newspapers. Magazines and newspapers also usually use very similar vocabulary to the type of vocabulary that you're going to be using every day. Words about weather, or colors, or fashion, or people, things that you're going to want to know, and things that the people will be using in their everyday language. So it's going to help you remember those vocabulary words that you've been trying to remember on a daily basis. So I recommend that you read every chance that you get. The next thing that I'm going to recommend is that you write. What I suggest is that you pick a theme. A theme is a set of words in your vocabulary that are all alike. That is going to help your brain remember that all of these words are very similar, which is going to help your brain memorize those words when you're trying to learn the vocabulary. So pick one theme each week that will help you remember the words for your vocabulary lesson that week. Some examples of a theme might be food. So maybe you would do breakfast foods. You could do vegetables, or you could do dinner foods, anything, fruits, all kinds of foods. You could probably spend an entire month just on the vocabulary of food. However, you want to make sure that you're using food words that you're going to use every day so that it really helps you in your vocabulary and in expanding your language. So, food is just one example. You might want to do weather. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it raining or sunny? And then you can even do directions. North, south, east, west. There's a lot going with weather too. So there's many different things that you can do. Colors is another good theme. When you're doing themes, you're going to remember in your brain all of those words that are alike, and it's going to help you remember those vocabulary words. So, as you're doing your theme, here are some things that you can write down to help you remember your vocabulary. I recommend that you use flashcards. When you do flashcards, you take a little piece of paper, you write down the vocabulary word on one side in the English language, and then write down the same word in your language on the other side. That way you can test your brain as you're looking at that card. Maybe make 10 or 15 cards a day that you plan on studying. And then each day you pull out those cards. Maybe while you're at lunch, maybe while you're at dinner. You pick a time and you do those cards to practice every day. Flashcards are a wonderful way to study vocabulary and to help remember those words. Another great way to remember is to take notes that are sticky and put them on things around your home to help you remember what those things are. So let's say you're in the kitchen and you're making dinner. You have the box in the kitchen that keeps all of the food cold. Do you remember what that's called? That would be called the refrigerator. So you could take a little note like this and you could write refrigerator on that note and then stick it onto the refrigerator in your kitchen. That way, every time you walk by the refrigerator, you will see the note. If you put those notes on little things around your home, it will help you remember the names of all of the things in your home, and you will see them all the time, which will give you a constant reminder of those words. Another great example of writing down your vocabulary words is making a list. When you're making a list, here is what I recommend. Let's use animals as our theme for this week. And let's say I'm going to make a list for my animals. I'm going to make a list on one side in English. So I have cat, dog, fish, and horse. On the other side, you're going to write down those same words in your own native language. So you will write cat, dog, fish, and horse in your language on the other side. Then you'll take your list, you'll fold it in half, and you'll cover one side so you can test yourself again. It's like the flashcards, but it's a different way of testing. And you can test yourself against your list to see if you remember which words. The words that you have a hard time with, you make another list over here. I have a hard time remembering fish. So I'm going to write that down over there. And then I'm going to create another list to make sure that I study more often. A list is another great way to write down your vocabulary and to help you listen. Another fantastic way to help you remember vocabulary is to speak it. One way is just to simply, as you are going through these flashcards and your lists, is to just say them out loud. Instead of only reading, say them. Cat, dog, fish, horse. Maybe even record your voice. Or if you have a friend that you can study with, talk to a friend. And the very most important thing to remembering vocabulary is to practice, practice, practice. We have a saying we like to use here, and it is called use it or lose it. What that means is if you don't practice it, if you don't use these words on a regular basis, you will forget them. So you have to practice. You have to use them every day, whenever you can. And be patient. It will take a long time. There's a lot of words, but that's okay. As long as you take some time every day, set your goals, set your themes, and spend some time every day to read, to write, and to speak, you will be able to remember your vocabulary. Thank you so much for joining us again. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, be sure to like us, subscribe, and leave us a comment if you'd like. See you again very soon.